Hello, YouTube. We are back for another episode in relation to Jeremy's Detective Comics number 33. I want to thank everyone for stopping by and checking out the content of Jerry the Jitterbug Comic Collector. Before we begin, we only have one more week. This upload is going to be on Wednesday morning, so we have actually, I believe it's the 19th that voting ends for the Comic Book Community Awards. If you like my content, you like my channel, you enjoy it, go over and give a vote for good old Jerry the Jitterbug. I'm going to leave a link in the description. For all who voted for my channel already, thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's bring home the award, hopefully, for the third year in a row. There's a lot of great content that I'm going against this year. So let's see what happens. And if I lose, I'm still happy and I still enjoy the interaction with the comic book community. So thank you. So last upload, I indicated that I was going to work on various wraps of the Detective Comics outside of the camera, meaning I wasn't going to record it. And I said to myself, you know what, Jerry, you're not being honest with your fans and people who watch, because you said you were going to show everything that you do with this wonderful Golden Age classic. So I reneged on what I said, what I was going to do. Oh, the cuckoo clock. Cuckoo, cuckoo, cuckoo. I reneged, and I'm going to show you the next step. How about we listen to the music of the cuckoo? I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but hopefully it is. Okay, so what are we going to do? These are 7 wraps from the interior going inwards. So this is the 3rd wrap from the centerfold, and then it's going to be the 4th, the 5th, the 6th, and the 7th. Now, these wraps are in very nice condition because they were protected in the interior of the book. They're all from the same book. I can tell from the cuts of the pages. So these are original to the interior of the Detective Comics 33, and they really do not need leaf casting. They're in good shape. All they're going to need is some reinforcement with Tengojo paper, and that's what we're going to do. And one of the main themes in this upload is just because you can leaf cast doesn't mean you should leaf cast. You got that? Just because you can leaf cast doesn't mean that you should leaf cast. So what I want to do is I want to take a look at each one of these 7 wraps, and I want to explain what I am talking about. So right here is the 1st or the 3rd wrap from the centerfold, and there are some rips, the traditional little rips like in the prior wrap that we worked on. However, there are some issues. And the issue in particular is that right here is the original staple holes. Hole 1, hole 2 right here. But sometime in this wonderful book's life, it looks like that someone inserted another staple, because there's a hole here and there's a hole here. So we're going to get to my point being that these holes right here, I'm not leaf casting it. They're little tiny holes. So I'm not going to put paper pulp on the book just because you have 2 sets of holes where staples may have been. Instead, what we are going to do is the Tengojo reinforcement like we did in the other wrap, and then the Tengojo will go right over these holes. In fact, let's flip it around And let's see, because sometimes there is paper that is flipped inwards, and that paper you can simply flip over and use the paper that's there and reinforce it with the Tengujo. But unfortunately here, there is no such paper folded over. However, on this bottom staple, guys, there is paper that is folded over. And hopefully the camera is picking it up, and it's right here. So once we clean this and soak this wrap, I'm going to flip that over. And I am going to cover the staple hole with the existing paper that just flipped over like a hinge when the staple was installed back in the factory, and that will give it nice support. So as you can see, this wrap is going to need very little work. The next wrap in the sequence pretty much has the same issues. And right here, there is a hole and there is a little flap of paper that we're going to try to save. And this is pretty good, this wrap. It's the same as the one prior. Has your basic tears on the top of the spine and the bottom of the spine. Here is the next wrap. And again, we have additional staple holes on the top and the bottom. And there is some paper loss right here. But again, guys, the theme is just because you can leaf cast it, it doesn't mean that you can, or it doesn't mean that you should. I'm sorry. We want to try to make this a minimalist approach where we provide as minimum amount of conservation as possible. And just because there is a little piece of paper that is missing, just like right here, I'm not going to leaf cast it. We're not going to leaf cast it because of this. We're not going to leaf cast it because of these holes. We're going to use the Tengujo. And we have a corner right over here that has paper missing. But to me, I do not think that warrants leaf casting, in my opinion. Tell me what you think. Do you guys think that you have this little tiny little corner that's missing and that it should be leaf casted? No, I don't think so. And the same thing goes for the bottom on this wrap regarding right here. There is also a little piece missing, but I'm going to leave that and we're going to use Tengujo to support that. We are not trying to make a brand new comic. We are trying to conserve and to make it that these comics have some life in them. And of course, that will happen with the deacidification and also the Tengujo support. Just like right here, we have the same little chunk missing. To me, that is not enough to leaf cast. I do not want to leaf cast it because it's not structural. The Tengujo will make sure that this does not migrate, meaning the rip and the piece missing, it will not migrate up into the spine. And I may even support this area on the left with Tengujo. I'm going to put that on my work order. The next page, the same thing. We have a little piece missing on the bottom, and we have a little piece missing on the left corner. And we have a few holes as well. And to me, guys, that is not enough to warrant leaf casting. This is not structural. The Tengujo will take care of this. Look at these elephants and lions. This is amazing because I really like looking at the graphics of these inner pages, non-Batman related stories, and I hope you're enjoying looking at it as well. Now, you have to understand, when this book came out, you really did not have a lot out there with movies, TVs, the internet. None of that existed to the common person. Well, we know that the internet didn't exist, but these are things in color. Lions. Here's the Statue of Liberty. Check that out, man. This is just awesome. And I hope you are enjoying me flipping through these 7 wraps. Here is the last wrap that we're going to work on without leaf casting. And this one is a little bit more damaged. It has a piece missing here, has a piece missing here, has a piece missing here. But that's not enough to leaf cast it. So let me know, do you agree, disagree? Just because you have a tiny little corner that's missing, is it enough that you should go forward with leaf casting? I am of the opinion, no. Just because you can leaf cast doesn't mean you have to. There has to be a threshold to go forward in order to leaf cast. And this, it's not enough to me. Not enough for me, guys. Tengojo is enough to support these pieces. And here's another way to find out original wraps, meaning to determine whether the wraps are original to each other. Right here, there is a crease. I don't know if the camera's picking it up. There it is. You see the crease on the right and the left of the spine. That crease going down is present on every page. And this is one of the telltale signs that people use, especially at CGC, to see whether wraps are the same, because it's like, meaning the same or from the same book, because it's like a fingerprint. That crease goes through every wrap in this book. So this is something that people see to see if wraps are original. So there you have it, guys. This is a little prelude to what we're going to do. These pages right here, these 7 pages, the ones I said I wasn't going to show working on, I'm glad I did show, and I'm glad that we had a little conversation. So for these pages, we're going to do 2 things, actually 3 things. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to do a simple, straightforward water bath on each page. So it's a lot of work because we want to try to draw out some of the impurities. And then what we are going to do for each one is we are going to deacidify by using calcium carbonate. I like the calcium carbonate. It's a little less aggressive in my humbled opinion. I am not a scientist, but when I make opinions, I make my opinions based on the way I work on books, from experience, the results. And in order to make the calcium carbonate solution, I use 1 tablespoon. And it doesn't have to be an exact tablespoon, guys. You can actually eye it out. It's a little bit higher than a tablespoon, but inside my pitcher is 1 gallon of warm water. So we're going to just put the calcium carbonate into the pitcher of warm water, 1 gallon, so 1 tablespoon to 1 gallon. Then what we're going to do is we're going to try to have the solution dissolve as best as possible and get it all in there nice and wet. And then I use my stirrer, and someone must be home. The dogs are barking. Then we're going to stir, 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 just like this. Stir aggressively to get it into the water and try to dissolve it as best as possible. Then we're just going to let this sit overnight, and we're looking for full saturation of the calcium carbonate into the water. And what didn't saturate into the water is going to sink to the bottom, and we will make a clear solution. And that is the solution that we're going to use to de-acidify each one of the pages. So I like to do one soaking with the water of the page for about 10 minutes or so. And then we do the calcium carbonate soaking for another 10 minutes approximately. We don't have to do exact 10 minutes or for over a minute or two, under a minute. You're okay. But the goal is 10 minutes each soaking in order to de-acidify and to clean the wrap. So this is how I mix it up nice aggressively. And then we're going to let it sit, like I said, overnight. I'm not going to cover it, but this will be the solution that we're going to use for the de-acidification. So I think we're up with this upload. It was just a little discussion. Just because you can leaf cast doesn't mean you have to. And then also the next upload in relation to this book, I'm going to work on each one of those 7 wraps. We're going to do the water bath deacidification with calcium carbonate. Then we're going to do the tear seals. And I am going to do each one of those on time lapse. I haven't done a time lapse in quite some time. So it's going to be a 7-page time lapse for us to see how much work goes in with just simple deacidification and just simple tear seals. So thank you for stopping by. If you're not subscribed, hit that sub button. Let me know what you think. Just because you can leaf cast doesn't mean you have to. I appreciate your support and stay tuned.